wanna talk about your thing there at the bathroom and for the garbage dump?
Yeah, I just wanted to double check that it had gone to the committee. I know Nicole had just kind of talked to me in passing at the dump, from lady to lady. And she sent me pictures where she had to, like shovel snow out of the porta potty out there to be able to go for, to visit her needs in the winter time. So she has a husband that works for Hydro that, I think it was fairly pricey. It was about $600 a month, but there's like a building that can be put on site that is self-contained for water and power, and it's a bath, toilet, and washer heads. So she just wanted to make sure it came forward. I'm pretty positive she had sent the information to Grady as well. I
Yep.
just didn't know if it had officially come up or at the committee at all.
We have, saw that at the joint, we have that, Dallas, and we talked about it, but I think the biggest thing is we're talking right now, what are we gonna do out there? Like, are we looking at building a building, or we just,
I told her we're kind of thinking possibly about a building in general, so I don't know if we'd be jumping again, doing anything, or if we consider maybe doing that in the meantime, I'm not sure.
okay,
Because, I know they're allowed to drive to the rink for the bathroom, but with that many clothes on in the middle of winter, sometimes we just need to go.
yep, okay, no, it's, we better put that down for the joint waste meeting then, okay, Dallas?
I would appreciate that. She's a wonderful employee and she loves her job, and it'd be a classy thing to have a bathroom there.
Okay, great, thank you very much for bringing that up.
Can we move the bathroom over to the south side of their building? Where they park for now? So the wind won't blow in and,
You definitely, yeah, they definitely could.
If there's ways of making it better, yes. you
just
should.
like for now, well,
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's human right.
Yes, I'll make that suggestion.
Yeah, so we get it over to the,
We should have a waste meeting.
Robbie, I didn't quite catch that.
He was wondering about moving it over to the other side of the building, out of the wind so much and that, maybe?
for now,
For now, just on a temporary basis, Dallas?
Right, no, that sounds, yeah. I think just some kind of, if we had even, I don't know, maybe even like a water cooler, I don't know, something, I don't know what they're using for washing their hands too, but there's, if you could class that up somehow of having some way to properly wash your hands there too would be simple things, but appreciate it.
Yep, okay.
Does that $600 a month include them servicing it, like filling up the water and
Yeah,
pumping it out and stuff?
They usually
She
do.
sent me the link, we can look into it further, but I'm pretty sure that was like $600, was like hands off, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah. They come and service and,
Okay, we'll put that down for their joint waste meeting then, okay, Dallas? It's gotta be looked at,
Yeah, you bet, I'll pass on the link for sure.
okay, thank you.
I don't think there is, I don't know.
yeah.
Is there?
We'll go down to the
Then
general business here, interim operating budget. Resolution 7, 2023, whereas in accordance with section 163 of the Municipal Act, the Council of the Municipality of North Cypress-Langford has made an interim operating budget for all operating and capital expenditures of the municipality for the period of January 1st, 2023 until the adoption of the 2023 financial plan. Therefore, be it resolved that the interim operating budget be hereby adopted. These are the numbers the girls have put forward here. General government services, $310,000. Protective services, $75,000. Transportation, $800,000. Environmental health, $120,000. Public health and welfare, $18,000. Economic development, $20,000. Economic development, the first one should have been services, the next one's economic development, $40,000. Recreation and cultural services, $380,000. Fiscal services, $50,000, for a total of $1,813,000. Capital requirements borne by reserves, $500,000, total of $500,000. Can we have a mover for that, please? Malcolm, Dallas and Malcolm. Any questions on that interim budget there, anyone?
That borne by reserves, that 500 thousand, is that on top of other reserve money, or is that just a standalone?
Not sure what that's about. We need Trish to describe that.
Sorry?
We'll need Trish to
Okay, I just,
discuss
if
that.
it was, yeah, like if it goes into another fund of some, it's okay, like it just, if it goes into another fund, that's,
This is something we normally do every year.
Is
this
that
time.
something?
Yep.
okay.
But I will find that out for you.
Well, just, you know,
Any other questions?
Is there any grant money coming from the governments? Or is that just borne by us?
This is what we need to have to operate until we pass our proper budget.
Okay.
We'll review a proper budget within the next month or two, and try to get it set in place. This just covers our finances until then.
I see, okay.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. I'll keep on going here. Weed Supervisor, Resolution 8, 2023, be it resolved that council appoint Keith Loney as Weed Supervisor for the municipality of North Cypress-Langford for the year 2023. Can I have a mover, please?
Davidson?
Davidson, seconder, Robbie. Any questions? Is it something we just do normally every year anyway? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Carried, thank you.
How many years has Gopher been weed supervisor?
A long time, he's also, we'll discuss that later, actually.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Rachel. You're up.
Perfect. I think the only thing I have on the agenda was discussion on the Jamie Spence subdivision.
We have Dallas on speakerphone here. Okay?
Sounds good.
Rachel?
Hi, Dallas. So yeah, this was something that we had to readdress because of an issue we had with some changes to the conditional approval letter. So this was presented a while ago and then was revisited at the last council meeting. So there was a decision to defer it. Again, I wasn't at the last council meeting. What was the reasoning for the deferral?
the cow farm, the
Location.
location on the draft that we got was that the bull test station.
Yeah, so we're not actually changing the designated area at all, we're simply changing the zone within. So that would have been something that wasn't an issue prior to because of the fact that the zoning had already been rural residential. So this is simply taking it from R10 to R5.
Okay, but
Yeah.
they mentioned the bull test station, and there's 5 other operations within a mile of that subdivision. So if that's why it was deferred before.
Okay, yeah.
So just wondering why that bull test station, which is 3 miles away, was mentioned in there when there's 5 others so close.
Yeah, and there's buildings that are very, heck of a lot closer.
Just, I'm sure it doesn't matter, it's just the wordage.
It's just a question because Robbie was one of them that was.
Well, I put
within
that
that.
up against it, right, so I just,
For sure, yeah,
and I
it's
just wanted to, because you got sluice keys, you got, there's 5.
yeah, so that's the comment and the intent of the subdivision, yeah. So this is generated through municipal relations, so community regional planning out of Brandon. So why they decided to list the wording as the closest livestock, is a good question. Again, with the fact that it was already existing rural residential and we're simply changing the size of the lots, I hadn't really looked at that fairly closely. Typically as long as we don't change from agricultural land to rural residential, the actual intent of the subdivision is just a simple change. So.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be any problem just to add on the intentional, like the other 4.
Well,
We don't actually list out any
you can take it
livestock.
off, like you can, yeah, like, I mean, they're gonna be 5-acre lots or whatever, just why mention that place if you're gonna put it in there when it's 3 miles away?
So generally when municipal relations does a subdivision package as a report to council, they do a brief history. Now, as we're all aware, municipal relations doesn't always have the best information when it comes to the history of the land or the history of the area. So again, that was simply something that they had put in. We don't list any of the livestock operations that are adjacent to the subdivision as part of the conditional approval. So generally what gets listed out in a conditional approval is the requirements and the conditions. So the requirements are a series of things, usually A, B, and C, that are listed out as requirements, as providing a plan of subdivision and paying for the individual lots and those sort of things. And then the conditions are things that are set through council. So the conditions we had are proof that the taxes are paid, and then the variation orders and the conditional use orders that generally get associated with the project, so. You betcha.
So, these are existing livestock operations,
You betcha.
and now with the proximity of the rural residential, would that limit their expansion?
So the rural residential has been set for many number of years now, so they are technically capped at a certain percentage.
But the livestock operations were there previous to the rural residential.
So when they the province decided to allow for the rural residential, again, this has been an existing rural residential for many years now. There would have been some consideration for that because they would have had to go through a rezoning process to take it from agricultural land into rural residential. So technically there is two different setbacks within the zoning bylaw. There's a setback from designated areas, which the entire boundary of the rural residential, as well as individual yard sites. So that would be something to take in consideration. Now, with that being said, they would have to get over 300 animal units before a technical review would be required, but there is different numbers that we would have to look at. Yeah.
Right.
Question,
You betcha.
Rachel, whose responsibility for to upgrade a fence? Because there's gonna be cattle always, possibly getting out. Now, the existing fence, how old is it around that property,
Well, I put up a new fence on the half mile because of that subdivision, because I wasn't gonna getting calls. I've already got a call this winter that said all my cows are out in that open field there, and they weren't. I was in bed and I jumped up and Julie and I went over and they were standing on a hill behind a new fence. But I put the fence up on purpose.
Yes, but you put up a
Oh, I
fence because
paid
of the
for it. Yes.
subdivision.
Yes.
Who, you should get compensation, should
Wow.
you not?
If somebody moved in an animal, which they can't, but if somebody moved in an animal into their 5-acre lot, I probably could go ask for compensation on that. But if they have no animals, how can I?
Yeah, it's your responsibility.
It's my responsibility.
So he puts it up to protect himself.
Yes, that's all it was protecting myself from that harassment.
Another quick question.
You betcha.
How close can you put let's say a corral or towards the subdivision? What's the rules on that?
So when we start talking about the setbacks, it is to confinement areas. So it is long-term confinement where we have a buildup of manure. Is technically the animal units are based off of that, if I'm not mistaken, Harold. That is basically how the creation had started. So it would be long-term confinement. So usually winter confinement is what we look at. With that being said, if you're confining a number of cattle or other animal units, because again, animal units are across species, we would, we would have to look at that. But those numbers come from the zoning bylaw, and those were numbers that were set through the municipality and through the province. So the province had one set of numbers. North Cypress-Langford's numbers for setbacks are a little bit more stringent.
Yeah, my question was building, let's say Rob wanted to build a calving facility, so 1 month cows come in, what's the barrier between subdivision and this?
Yeah, so those numbers are taken from the zoning bylaw. I don't know them off the top of my head, I'll be honest. They fluctuate between, like I said, designated areas and then specific yard sites. So I would have to go back and check again. They're listed out in the zoning bylaw, but typically speaking, as long as it's, like he can pasture his cattle right up against that fence line. It only becomes an issue when there's a buildup of manure. Yeah, when it's, the term is confinement or confinement area, so.
I spread manure right up to the fence line this spring.
Yeah, again, it's primarily concerned when they're long-term.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
spread it.
Yeah,
So it'd be
feedlots and
One
whatnot.
day of exotic smells.
Yeah.
And it dissipates.
Is it to the boundary of the subdivision or the nearest residence?
So again, we have two. So when it comes to the designated area, it is to the buffer.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
to the
is to where the edge of the rural residential stops. And we would take, if it ever became a concern, we would have to go out and actually measure it. We can't, I don't take numbers off of our aerial views just because some of our maps are skewed, so we would basically go to the nearest corner of the confinement area and pace it out and measure it, so. Yeah.
If I can explain, because the planning does not have a map of no farms around any of these. It is at time of zoning, it's required for the farmers to come ahead and say something at the time of change. And for a lot of farmers have found out that's not a good idea because it's sort of stacked against them. Because, how to put it, best example is these, everybody has to have a, what do they call it, to keep livestock, a premise ID.
Right.
Well, they had to promise that, when the federal and provincial government came out with premise ID, they had to promise that it was not, cannot be used by any, it becomes confidential. Because what has happened is several farmers at the time, they have stood up and said, well, I don't want this subdivision beside me because it'll interfere with my farm operation. Municipalities will automatically ask, well, how big's your unit? And the moment they say, if they're honest and tell them how big their unit is, all of a sudden the municipality can jump on them and say, you have to go back to this level. It's stacked against the farmers, the way the system is, and that's why you rarely see any farmers coming in complaining about. The best example is what happened east here. When they were coming up with premise ID, this municipality was held up in disgrace over what happened to the farmers over there. One farm to the east got pretty near shut down because they wanted that subdivision put in. And that's the large part of the issue. And like I was pushing to get a map because it's not up to planning to set up, it's up to the farmers to step forward. But the moment they step forward to say something, they're suddenly leaving themselves wide open to be.
Any more questions, comments for Rachel on all this?
Was there anything else that there was as a concern? Again, this was approved by council. We're simply just, we're kind of reordering some things. We didn't add the requirement for the road opening hearing. Now, again, we had, in this phase, we have a small portion of the road that is being used as basically an approach to one of the lots. But municipal relations has decided that it's a true road opening, even though it's a small extension of an existing road. So that was one of the additional conditions we have to add into the conditional approval letter, and we can't, Cypress Planning can't technically amend this without council approval, again, hence the whole process we're dealing with now. And then we had to remove a variation order off of Lot 9. Lot 9 is that larger lot that is, or one of the lots that is, larger lots that's not actually being cast into rural residential, it's being left as what it is. So we had originally included that variation order as a requirement. So again, we're simply amending some of the conditions that had been approved by council before. You know, speaking, you know, just a bit to what Harold was saying, rural residential, to change it in our development plan and the zoning bylaw, has to go through the province. There is, and they are, at this point, North Cypress-Langford, Glenbrook, South Cypress, and are basically tied to the rural residential we have now. We have a couple lots further to the north in North Cypress-Langford that have been flagged for rural residential that aren't currently zoned and developed for rural residential, but there is no more potential growth currently in the areas we've got, where, you know, that is capped, specific to, you know, historical facts of existing farmyards and whatnot. You know, we can't really grow up this side, and other than developing what has already been painted rural residential. So.
Is that just until the lots are all sold and
So,
occupied, or?
you betcha, so it goes off, a quantity list, so, you know, we've got a series of open lots now. Mr. Spence's subdivision is completely full. We're seeing a lot less available rural residential, so the municipality has the ability to apply to paint if they would like new areas within the development plan, because that's where we have to start, is in the development plan, set aside rural residential lots and then take it into the zoning bylaw. So we have the ability, once, you know, we do have a handful of lots left, so I wouldn't recommend trying to do it right away, but we do have the ability. But again, we have to be very careful so we don't impact existing landowners in their capacity. But that is something that probably not in the next few years, but maybe in the next 5, that is something that North Cypress-Langford will have to potentially start looking at it, if that is where North Cypress-Langford would like to look for growth. Now, again, that is something that is up to the municipality, not Cypress Planning. We would definitely sit down and have that discussion, but, you know, there is always the potential for that. The Byram subdivision is completely full going towards Neepawa. Strawberry Lanes up Neepawa Way is completely full as well. So there is few lots left on one side of town. There is multiple lots left on the other side of town, east of town. So until we get those full, I wouldn't recommend doing anything quite yet, so.
Because they would just look at that and say there's availability.
You betcha. There is, and I can't remember the terminology the province uses, but it's, there is still available lots to be developed.
And they look at it as a whole municipality.
Yeah.
not
You
one
betcha.
itself, so.
How's the municipality east on the 351? How's it for capacity?
So the lots are slowly starting to turn around. We have seen a fair number of lots change hands, so there is 2 subdivisions out that way. There's Eagle Mountains Estates and Rolling Sands, if I'm not mistaken. And the north subdivision on the north side of the highway is definitely seen a lot more turnover in lots and a lot more development. They're moving quicker into the development stage with structures. The south side is also moving along quite nicely. It's just taking a little longer to get the new landowners to actually start building. So, yeah.
Any more discussion on any of that?
So that,
No? Go
sorry,
ahead. No, go ahead.
so that the clause in there about bull test station.
It's not actually a clause. So the intent of the subdivision in the report to council is just to, oddly enough, give council a bit of history and feedback of the subdivision area. So it's not, we don't, again, once the conditional approval letter is done and sent out, we don't actually list out any of the information.
Okay, so
we need.
none of that will be in
None of it,
not
again.
existing sites or,
No,
Okay.
simply in the conditions that, you know, Mr. Spence is gonna have to rezone those lots from
Okay.
RR10 to RR5, because we don't wanna do what we did last time and have a whole bunch of variation
that was
orders.
my concern.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
so yeah, we don't actually address that again,
Okay.
so.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 6, 2023, whereas council has received an application from Jamie Spence, applicant on behalf of the registered owner 6998986, Manitoba Limited, file number 4155228443, for subdivision of the property legally described as West 41115 WPM. Approved full subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that lot 1 through lot 8 obtain a zoning bylaw amendment to change the current zoning classification from RR10 rural residential district to RR5 rural residential district. Number 2, that lot 7 obtain a variation order allowing for the reduction of the minimum site of 5 acres down to 4.13 acres in the RR5 rural residential district. Number 3, that a public hearing be held to discuss the opening of the public road. Number 4, that a development agreement be entered into with the municipality of North Cypress-Langford in regards to road design and construction. Number 5, that future access to the remaining parcel be at the cost of the applicant. And number 6, all legal costs incurred be the responsible of the applicant. We have a mover, please?
Yeah.
Grant, seconder. Malcolm,
Sorry.
any more questions on that? All in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed? Thanks to Ellis, carried, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
You betcha, there's one more
Thursday
thing,
night?
yeah, one more thing I'd like to address, if I may. So we had originally anticipated having the public hearings for the zoning bylaw, at the next meeting. Now, there was a couple of issues that were found, I'm currently working with Community Regional Planning, that were left in the bylaw, the draft bylaw that was presented. Now, there were some changes that were presented from the other commenting agents from the province. And again, we have a consultant. I had made the assumption that all of the changes that were necessary, that were going to be done, were done. And there were a couple issues that, things like the number of animal units that a technical review is required, that number didn't get changed. Now, that is something that we can't budge on. So we had, so there was a couple issues that were found, as well as the fact that North Cypress-Langford's posting didn't get posted in the Neepawa banner, which is a requirement from the planning district. So due to that, we've actually had to push out to the next meeting because we have very specific posting requirements for the zoning bylaw with the public hearing. So we are currently looking at how we're going to amend from the first draft to the second draft. We should be able to catch them all, the small errors. Again, the animal units is not necessarily a small error, but catch the text errors as long as there isn't any content errors other than those with a simple amendment to the proposed or presented bylaw. So we're kind of in the working phase to get to the public hearing. So once we get that all sorted out, and we have at the Cypress Planning District Board meeting on Thursday, we have Community Regional Planning coming out to discuss what their proposal is to get us to the next step. I will notify council and let them know when we are ready to do that next step. So basically what we're trying to do is catch everything prior to getting to that public hearing so that the document we provide the public is as finalized and complete as possible. You know, we don't want to have to have a second public hearing, which is what we're trying to do right now, is just catch everything. With that being said, our consultant is down south right now. So he is not available to attend the next meeting, and so we'll have to kind of figure out the best way to approach the amendments that we need to do, but we will get that covered and done. So I just wanted to give everyone a bit of a heads up, just so that you're not anticipating having that public hearing coming up right
Send
away.
us a copy of the amendment.
You betcha, yeah.
I was just curious, did you get the amendment to the map of the limited livestock area?
You betcha. So we have Community Regional Planning, again, they're the ones that generated the maps, so we have mapping coming from them. So our planning district board is actually our zoning bylaw committee. We have to bring everything back to the committee once everything is kind of polished and presentable again. So that is something, again, we're gonna be doing on Thursday, just to make sure that everything is kind of caught. So yes, we will have a Cypress Planning District Board meeting down in Glenboro Thursday night at 7.
Where you at?
Fire Hall.
Fire hall, okay, yep.
Thought we were there, we're just not quite there. Yeah. I've read those bylaws so many times now that they all.
No cross-eyed?
Yeah, well, not only that, but I don't see the missing words, so there are a handful of smaller words in there that should be there. When someone else reads it out loud, I'm like, well, there's words missing, and we have to try to catch that out. So, yes, I feel bad for Bev. She has now also read them way too many times.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
Was there anything else that, from planning side of things, that we needed to address?
What time was that?
7 p.m.
Okay, sounds good, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was, hope you guys all had a good New Year and a good holiday.
I think so.
Anybody complains right now, they should remember that pretty soon the mosquitoes.
Oh my goodness, I'm not even ready for that. Let's not.
Minus 40. Take care of each other.
Have a good day.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Rachel, see ya. Okay, moving on. We had no bylaws and no unfinished business, so we'll go right down to C, Neepawa Leisure Lottery. Resolution 9, 2023, be it resolved, the Council of Municipality of North Cypress-Langford support the efforts of the Yukon District Memorial Farm and Leasery Lottery in their application to conduct the 2023 fundraising lottery and agree to fund any shortcomings in the line of credit. Can we have a mover, please? Malcolm, seconder. Grant. This is something we do to support the leisure lottery in Neepaw every year there for the medical clinic. It's just a backup support, that's all it is, so.
How soon are they gonna get one?
Pardon me?
Is it being built now?
This has nothing to do with the hospital.
Medical clinic.
This is the medical clinic that's there. It's all repairs and
Oh, it's
maintenance.
just for operations.
Not for operation. This is just for maintenance and additions and not to the medical clinic. This is something we do every year when last year I think they raised 140, the year before that was 180.
Last year's project is gonna be built sometime in May, June.
There's a canopy over the south entranceway being built next summer and
Yeah.
it's different things.
We got, it's not to help induce doctors, or the funds not used.
This is for the structure.
This is just for
Brick and mortar.
building.
Didn't know, I didn't know.
There's another fund for doctor recruitment, isn't
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you very much. Nothing added to the agenda. Around the table. Around the table. Who wants to start first?
Yeah, the communication.
Well, you can't
Because it's
consider
not
that one,
signed.
no signature to that letter,
Oh.
so it's not on the table,
Okay.
so. Harold, you got any comments?
What's going to happen to the compost pile at the dump here? Because I look at it, the first thing you realize is they push it up. When they push it up, they push it right full of gravel, which makes it absolutely useless. It is right full of garbage bags, so you can't really call it compost. You've just got this huge pile in the dump sitting there, but nothing happens with. What's gonna happen? What's the plan with that?
If I remember correctly, in our waste management rate, we're gonna get rid of that.
Right now, we're trying to decide what we're gonna do out there to start with, Harold. It needs to be cleaned up, and I agree 110%. Like, it's which way do we wanna go with this facility? And there's been throwing out the idea of building a bigger shed out there to do a better job of what we are doing and designate areas and make it better for everything that is there.
Are we, are you planning on bringing in ACC has the program for composting for both farms and municipality, and they're training technicians to handle that. Are we looking at bringing somebody in to?
Right now, we're just in discussions on the buildings, how we're gonna redo things. We're definitely, I think, leaning towards a building and, building structure with facilities, washrooms and that. As far as the outdoor compost, we're gonna keep discussing till we got that composting right. Like what it is right now, it's been told to me, right, it's a disaster, we're gonna change that.
It was even brought up about up there with scrap building supplies, whether some of them couldn't be segregated into different piles, and if somebody wants to take a 4-foot 2x4, take the darn thing instead of throwing it in waste,
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely gonna, and plus winter out there, they've got no place to stay, and building, people can drive in, scale, and we got lots of things working, we got a meeting coming up right away, and I'll mention that, Harold,
Because it's just an eyesore, and it's
Yeah.
useless. That's what I say from anybody who's used to working with compost. You look at that and going like, what is this stuff? This isn't compost, this is backfill.
that, that recommendation you made, can you give it to me again?
Well, they have a program at ACC for training technicians for composting, either farm or municipal. All the how to handle it and all the equipment.
Right, that's an ACC, okay.
And with that, I think I gotta go because I've been started on insulin and I can feel myself going hypoglycemic, so I gotta buy uptown and get some juice.
That's it for now, Harold, then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Malcolm?
Not too much. I got a message from Charlene Carter. She lives on the corner of 84 West and 79 North, over near Murray and Lisa Davies' new health center up there. You're just asking for a stop sign. Basically from traffic coming from the south up the back road that leads from the community pasture. And especially it's basically the request is because of snowmobilers and quadders using the back roads, which is no issue, like nobody's really complained about it. But their proximity to the road is very close, and she asked if a stop sign could be installed there.
Does anybody on a scooter follow a stop sign?
She's hoping it won't, she doubts it will stop them, she's hoping it'll slow them down.
Yeah.
Just because of the main road that goes down to Lawson Davies and up to Murray Davies. It won't affect snow trapping, it won't affect any grader operations in any way, shape, or form, it's just the cost of a stop sign to try. If we could possibly look at that for them.
How about a speed bump?
Believe me, there's a lot of things that'd be nice.
Well, anybody who doesn't slow
What
down
road
to
is
check
number
theirs.
Uh,
83 West and
because
79
No.
You can't
North.
see to the.
84 West and 79 North.
I always just put a stop there, because you can't see.
No, their house is right on that corner, and the trees, because it's heritage habitat for the tree lines, trees are just closed right in over top of it. It's a beautiful place to quad, snowmobile, walk, drive, the whole 9 yards. But because of through traffic, everyone comes out of there as soon as they see an open spot, like right past the yard.
McCoggins have mentioned the
Yes.
stop sign before too, at their corner.
Okay.
So the hill and that.
That was also another one I was gonna bring up, but I requested that a few years ago, south on 85 West, and, that would be 80 North. It was the same thing, it would not affect snow trapping, it would not affect anything else. Just because of the blind corner, I requested the stop sign there, it never got put in, it's okay. But we did get a hidden intersection sign coming
Yeah.
For
the
east.
west.
for eastbound traffic on the west side of it, because the two hills come straight down like this. But it would be nice to have a stop sign on the south side, or hidden intersection at least,
Yeah.
coming from the south, because with the recent upgrades to Road 85, quite honestly, people go like a bat out of hell down there.
Yeah, it's a straight through road now, the main road.
In the summertime,
Yeah.
yes, and with that hidden intersection there, it is a matter of time before something happens. I know we
Trish to talk to Matt on this.
if we could, please.
Yep.
And the nice part is neither one will affect snow trapping with the graders or anything else in the winter.
Anything else, Malcolm?
No, thanks to the guys for, I've seen a few people sending out thank you notes or mention it to me, but thank the guys for what they've done for snow removal and keeping up.
Robbie?
Taylor Lassard contacted me, maybe last Wednesday, and couldn't believe that there was nobody working. He had semis coming in for Cal, and his road hadn't been plowed in so long, and he was quite flabbergasted that we would have a full staff off at one time and not have one grader operator able to help if he really needed it or if there was an emergency or something like that. So I said, well, I don't know how this all happens yet, I'm pretty new. But so I talked to Tricia, and she told me it was how they all got off. But I have a concern with them all being gone.
I do too.
I just, I mean, I understand Christmas, and it was the way that the Christmas holidays fell, it was, you know, like that whole week in January, but I just have a hard time why one person shouldn't be in that shop, have it open in a grader, because the roads are not good right now that haven't been plowed in. like they're rough now and bouncy. There's some pretty sheltered spots that have, you know, that much snow built up and wheel tracks. And I know, I had no answer for him. I said, well, I can't see them all.
Kinda hard to have somebody on staff all the time, though, that's the heck of it.
Just on call,
And
right?
it's a pretty good standard understanding amongst them, that if there is a snowstorm, they'll come in and, most of them will come in and work anyway if they're requested to.
But that would be just normal hours last week for them, right? Like that would be, they would have had to take, yeah, it was, yeah, like they would have had to be on holidays or bank hours or whoever that is. But just, that's all I said, is like, I have no idea how this happened, so.
You were talking to Trish about that then, were you, or to Teresa? Okay. That's something that needs to be clarified a little better then.
Yeah, like, the first thing he said was, why is the gates closed at the yard? And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, the gates are closed at the shop there, there's nobody working. And I said, there has to be somebody working, middle of the week. Anyway, that was it.
Okay. Thanks, Rob. Jeremy?
Well, not too much, skating ice is in at the Brookdale rink. And they've been having problems with the ice plant for the curling side, but it's supposed to be fixed as of today, we'll find out tonight, I guess. The men's bonspiel's been canceled, but the mixed is still open for March. That's about all I have for that.
They got all the stuff the end of last week for curling ice from us.
Yeah.
So hopefully they figured it was gonna be good.
We're gonna try it tonight.
Yeah,
Is it?
Yep, that's it.
Grant?
You're good?
Yep.
I have a request for, school zone signs, 30 kilometers for the town, and putting the speed bump on that road by the school, just slow people down in Brookdale.
We've had that talked about before, about that 30-kilometer there. Like the north-south one on the west side, that's highways, that's not ours.
We're talking the main
They're
drag.
talking to me right there,
And that's still,
East,
that's
west.
municipal road? Or is that a highway
okay.
road?
You know, the town is
It's
ours.
municipal, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
ours.
What is it?
We're talking east-west road along
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Actually, we could put in 2 speed bumps and a 30-kilometer, because what some people do, I've seen it 60, 70 clicks down there. And it doesn't matter. the
And
speed.
how, when the stop sign's right there?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
then they boot it by Mitchell Shop, they're
Mhm.
hit 60, by the school it's 70.
I have that.
You got that comment?
Is there,
I don't have a problem with that. 30-kilometer signs, it's just a fact of stuff, but
Would we have to add
the
that?
thing is though, nowadays, you can put all the signs you want, we haven't got any enforcement, unfortunately.
Speed bump helps.
but that's
But
not.
speed bumps don't work for graders.
So, is there kids actually on that road?
Well, sometimes, say they do the walks, the special needs kids, they go right around that square.
Yeah.
And most people slow down, and it's
course.
the people outside the community.
Yeah.
But, you know, you gotta get it's 8 to 4 guys, you gotta get to Rapid City at 3 for something. You know, it's not local community guys, it's, but I don't know, but I've seen them go ripping down that, like it seems like a snowmobile run for them. They're dropping something at the store, or they're dropping garbage and.
I forgot to mention one thing, the Wellwood, rink, their bond spiel is January 27th and 28th. Entry deadline is the 23rd, $120 a rink, includes stuff for 4. If anyone's interested.
Should be able to put in a team between these. We'll Skip and I'll make sure he gets the liquids.
I can't curl on that ice, my body won't allow it.
Anything else,
Yeah,
Grant?
We're gonna let you skip.
I know, but I just can't slide.
Anything else, Grant?
No, I'm good.
Teresa, you got anything? Dallas, you got anything to put on your, around the table here?
Nothing else, great, thanks.
Okay, Dallas, nothing. I really don't have anything other than the guys out snow trapping doing a good job. And other than that, everything seems to be still going.
Yeah,
Good thing.
the roads are super in my yard.
Oh, yeah.
Yours are great up there.
Okay,
Like we're talking about 30 if you wanted.
Yeah, no, I can't, you can't do that down here.
No.
Mushy.
okay, time, around the table is done, communication done, in camera now. Resolution 10, 2023, be it resolved that council as a committee of the whole move to in camera to discuss personnel matters. We have a mover,
Davidson.
seconder,
Rob?
Robbie, all in favor? Thank you.
Yep.